just trying to make it in the big, crazy world we live in. Hosted by Ruth and Declan. Now, Declan, I have some good news and some bad news about this episode. What do you want to hear first?
Oh, give me the bad news first.
Well, Declan, the bad news is this is the last show for the series of Get It Together.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I didn't put that together. Time flies, huh?
Yeah, it's really sad.
But that does mean it's going to be a kicker of a show, right?
Well, that's the good news. It certainly will be. Tonight in the last episode of Get It Together, we're going to be discussing parties, festivals, booze, and drug culture. What's your favourite type of social gathering?
Well, I feel like they all have their merits. Like, it depends on the mood you're in. You might want a house party with your friends, or you might want to go out clubbing. So yeah, I think it depends on how I'm feeling on the night. What about you?
I like the idea of going clubbing, except you hear so much about how drug culture is out there, and I don't know how to be safe out there.
Well, luckily, tonight on the show, we shall be discussing having a safe night out with a young bartender extraordinaire, Jordan Dean.
Then we'll be chatting with a paramedics unit as we discuss how drugs and alcohol affect the body and society.
And finally, to take us out with a bang, our guest performance from a local Brizzy band, Dennis.
But first, Sarah wasn't available this week to hit the streets, so introducing Lizzie for the first and last time as she asks people about what they get up to on their wild nights out.
Hi, I'm Lizzie, and tonight we're asking you questions about nightlife. How much have you had to drink tonight?
This is my second drink.
Say 5 beers.
Tonight I've had just one drink, 1 pint.
I had 5 beers before I came out, and I've had 2 pints in here. A few.
Tonight, day sesh. So from 12 o'clock we've had...
So 5, I've had 8.
I've
ciders.
had near 10.
4 pints so far.
How are you getting home tonight?
I'm walking.
Probably walking.
Walking.
Uber.
I'm staying up in a hostel around the corner, so I'm going to walk.
I was away to take one of them lime scooters because they're quite fun.
Okay.
Walking.
What's the latest you've gotten home and why?
Probably 9 a.m. because we just kept drinking.
Well, there's been some nights I haven't gone home at all.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Latest I've gotten home was probably like 12 p.m. the next day.
About 3 days later.
House parties or clubbing?
House parties.
Probably house parties, yeah.
Clubbing? I'm more into bars.
If I had my way, house parties, but there's never really many.
I love house parties, but I'm usually at clubs because no one throws house parties in Scotland.
Oh,
House
that's
parties.
house parties.
House
100%.
parties. Yeah.
Pill testing or policing festivals?
I think pill testing.
I'm all about harm prevention, so pill testing.
Is that a serious question?
Pill testing, definitely.
Pill testing.
Policing, I think works better, yeah.
What's the most drinking you've done in a night, and do you remember that night?
No. So, a lot of drinking.
I'd say 30 pints I've probably had.
30?
In a sitting, yeah.
Probably spent the equivalent of about like $200 and don't remember the end of the night.
I started with a bottle of whiskey and I got down to like here. Like I woke up with that amount of whiskey.
What's the most damage a night out has done to your wallet?
Probably a few $100s.
Girl, you don't want to know that.
£2 grand. No, 2.5.
Ooh. Maybe £400 or £500.
So, 30 pints. Definitely didn't need to go to hospital. That is,
Impressive.
yeah, 100%. I'm like 2 drinks in, I'm in bed or sleep on the loo, who knows. Thanks, guys. So I know I've had those nights when I don't realise I've spent as much as I have until I check the bank account the next day and get a little surprise, like $1, $2 left.
Yep. But now we want to know how far our studio audience has gone. So let's find out. Everyone, raise your hand if you've ever gone out on the town.
Anyone? Cool. We'll start really simple. Keep your hand up if you've spent more than $20 on a night out.
$30,
40,
60,
80. I'm gonna keep following you.
100,
150.
200,
Oh my God, 210.
230.
260. Oh my god.
300.
340.
500.
Oh my god, we've got a winner. Congrats, I guess.
Wow.
Oh my god. You spent $300. You get this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is.
Yeah, so either
money.
congratulations or how do you do that?
I just wanted to be on the show.
You just wanted to be on the show.
And the truth comes out.
We're taking that off you after this ends. Well, if you did ever have a situation like that, what you would need is a bartender that's looking out for you and knows when to cut you off. So in our next segment, a local bartender tells us the stories of being behind the bar in this climate of party drugs. We're very appreciative of Jordan's honesty, detailing his personal life and the story of involuntary consumption of such drugs.
When you see stuff over the bar, you see one person being totally fine, totally sober, just having, that was probably like their first or second drink, to them having to be carried out by their friends, or like to them, you know, being taken away. And like drugs is such a big thing, and like in the gay community, drugs is like, it's a big thing, and which it shouldn't have to be, but it is. My name's Jordan Dean. I'm a bartender in the Valley. I work at the Wickham, and I've been doing bartending for about 2 years now. One time, one of my really good friends, who now is actually scared to come into my work because of what happened, came in Sunday during the day, was having one glass of rosé with their friend, went out into the back area, and I'm very mad because the cameras weren't, like, there's no cameras out back, so you can't see. He left, and his character changed, and I was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, bye. And he just walked out, and I was like, oh, you're not usually like that. So I started wearing a bit. I then got a text the next day from him saying, like, do you remember what happened last night? Do you remember who I was with? And I was like, what's wrong? What happened? So I called him, and he was like, I think someone spanked my drink last night. I'm like, like that afternoon. I was like, are you what? That space for me then became unsafe because I got sexually assaulted whilst working at work, and it was a terrible time, and then therefore that space became, for a long time, I was like I couldn't be here because I felt so scared to be at work. I went on Grindr. I started talking to this guy. His name's Mark, supposedly. I don't think it's his name. He picked me up from the city. We drove over to the north side. I think he was either staying in a hotel or an Airbnb. I can't tell because it looked like it was just a bunch of units to me. I can't really remember. I sat down with him for about 3 hours. Like it felt like 3 hours, but I don't know how long. I just got everything off my chest. Like what people were saying, what was happening at school, like me attempting, and like I just got everything off my chest. He then decided, after I finished talking, I was like, oh, I got this weight off my chest. It was the one time that I felt like everything was going to be okay, and like I was fine, and that was that. He then proceeded to make like sexual advances. Like he started like touching me, and I was like, no, I'm not interested. One, you're not my type, and two, I'm not interested in you that way because I kind of just told you all my problems. He then got frustrated, and he was like, oh, do you want a glass of water or something, like something to drink? And I was like, yeah, I haven't drunk in a long time. And I was 17, so I was naive to the idea of that happening to me. I was like, I'm on top of the world. Just then I was like, like when I was having everything in my chest, I was like, I don't have to think about that. Like, oh, I'm fine. What are you on about? He came back with 2 glasses, and I remember just drinking mine, and then just, whew, I felt so weak. I started feeling really out of it, weak, just feeling awful. And I was like, what's wrong? And then he started to then proceed to like get on top of me and try to do stuff, and I tried finding a way, but I was just like, I was so weak and so out of it. And I then woke up down in the valley, and then I remember I was in so much pain, but I don't know why. Like I couldn't really remember at the time, and I think it was because I didn't want to remember at the time. And then I remember having everything with me, which I found funny. I was like, where was everything? I've got it. I basically got dumped. My friend apparently got roofied recently. Yeah, one of my best friends actually, by someone that I supposedly, like, I'm not gonna throw names out because she's like, don't make a big deal out of it. But I'm like, it is a big deal thing though. So, yeah, she was out drinking with her friends and I wasn't there. Well, you know, I was with her, but then I left because I was like, I'm tired, I've got work in the morning, yada yada, gotta go. So I left her with her group of friends, and they're really good, like they're best friends, that group of friends, like they're all really tight and everything. So I was like, she's in safe hands, she'll be fine. I leave, and then I get a text from her that next morning. She's like, I was throwing up, I had to go to the ER, like, she got drugged, basically, she got roofied. I told my old work, I remember telling one of my close managers, and she said she had the same situation happen to her, and I was like, why is this such a common, I think she told me a survey or something that was taken. She said half of the people that were surveyed had a similar story. And I was like, out of how many people? There were like 100. So I'm like, you're saying out of the 50 people there, they had same stories, same situations happen to them. And I'm like, that is so fucked up. I think products like the lipstick and the nail polish, I feel like, not everybody, but like I feel like it should be like a necessary thing to have, or like when I'm saying necessary, I feel like it shouldn't, because again, we shouldn't just have that culture where you have to now actually get stuff for that to be precautious, but it's a necessary thing to have. The angel shot is something, it's just like a poster that's put into the women's bathrooms, and it's meant to help promote the fact that if you're not feeling comfortable, like either on a date or that there's someone there that's not making you feel comfortable or anything, you order that shot. And so if you have the shot by itself, you can get an order, like, look at the bartender will look after you and get you an Uber and everything. If you get it on the rocks, the bartender will escort you to that car, or like will make sure that you don't get followed out or anything. If it's with a lime, it's the police are involved. Like they will call the police to make sure that you are okay. And I think that's what all bars, actually sorry, not most, all bars should do, have something sort of the same, because it's so many times when people feel uncomfortable but they're too scared to make a scene, therefore they just leave, and then they're putting themselves in danger. People make jokes at my work, they're like, oh, just pass me a roofie and we'll have a good night. And I immediately snap at them and I'm like, don't you dare make jokes like that. Because like I know roofie is a drug to make you like, it is a drug. Then I'm like, don't you dare, because it's one, personal experience, and two, it's not okay. And it's not okay to make it like it seem like it's an okay thing, because it's not okay.
Wow, I'd just like to say thank you to Jordan for being open to us and for being a great example of a good bartender. If you guys see Jordan at the Wickham, make sure you tip him well.
All this talk of drug use in the partying scene is a very hot issue currently in Australia. So to understand legal and illicit substances, we've invited in a studying paramedicine student, Tim, to explain it to us. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. So can you describe the differences in alcohol and party drugs and the effects that it has on the body?
Yeah, so alcohol is essentially a party drug as well. You can break party drugs down into 3 different types. You've got your depressants, your stimulants, and your hallucinogens. Colloquially, they're known as uppers, downers, and trippers, I think they're called. And they pretty much do as the name implies. Stimulants make you excited, give you a sense of euphoria. Downers can make you feel mellow, chilled out, and hallucinogens can just take you out of this world and give you, hallucinations and make you really distort what you think is real.
And what happens when you mix 2 or more of those? Is that dangerous?
Yeah, it is much more dangerous when you start mixing them, because it's really hard to say how they're going to interact in your body. If you combine 2 of the same types of drugs, say 2 depressants, they can multiply their effect and really, really have strong effects on you. So say, for example, alcohol is a depressant. If you mix that with another type of depressant, it can make you extremely sleepy, it can hamper your breathing, and it can become a medical emergency.
Okay, so within the paramedic industry that you've seen as a student, are there trends in the party drug abuse?
I think one trend that I've really noticed is that people don't understand how serious alcohol can be, because it's so accepted in our culture. We almost turn a blind eye to what it can do and the effects that it can have. Many people react differently to it. You know, I bet we all know friends who some get excited, some get really aggressive, and some just get sleepy. So I think that's something that I've started to notice, is that different people react differently to different drugs, and so you really need to be careful with how you do it.
And if you are put into a situation where a friend is in some sort of drug-related emergency, what are the best steps to making sure that they remain safe?
Well, the first thing is that's really important to have a friend with you if you are going to partake in these sorts of things. And if you can, try and make a bit of a plan beforehand and be aware of what each other's taking, so that if something like this does happen, you can give the information to paramedics or anyone else who looks to help you. The next thing I say that's really important is please don't hesitate to call paramedics. I know there's a lot of people who are concerned that they might get in legal trouble, but I can guarantee we are not interested in seeing anyone get in trouble. All we want to do is help the patient. We're really not judgmental whatsoever, and again, we just want to help. The first thing you can do is try get them into a safer environment. If you're in like a rave or a nightclub that's really busy, loud and hot, if you can try get them somewhere a little bit more quiet, a bit cooler, that can help. If they go unconscious, it's really important that you keep them safe. So if you can get them into the recovery position, that's a great thing to do. And again, please don't have a high threshold to call for an ambulance. Mm-hmm. The people, even in the call centres, can give you really good advice if something does go wrong, and we'd really, really love to help.
Cool. So from the perspective of a paramedicine student, what sort of effects would pill testing have on the paramedical industry?
I can't speak on behalf of all paramedics. I can only speak on behalf of myself with this one. I think we really want to encourage anything that minimises harm, especially to young people, and especially to people who are in a vulnerable situation, like you can be at a festival where there's all sorts of different things going on. You've got peer pressure, you could be mixing drugs with alcohol, and you're out in the sun all day. The evidence that I have personally read is in favour of pill testing and the harm minimisation effects that it can cause, and I know we're starting to see a little bit of it here in Australia. So I would say, in general, paramedics support it, but again, that's just my opinion.
And why do you think pill testing isn't currently a more, like at festivals and such, it isn't used more frequently?
Oh, that's a really good question, and I think we see it so much overseas. In Europe, it's really, really common. Most countries that you go to, you'll be able to find some sort of pill testing going on at the big festivals. I think Australia, again, in my opinion, seems to be lagging behind a little bit in that field. And some legal issues revolve around it, because it's not a guarantee. That's something people really need to take seriously, is that just because you get a pill tested, it's not a guarantee that it's safe. And so you need to be really careful and listen to what the people who are doing the pill testing tell you.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that it was a guaranteed thing. Thanks so much. I just want to say thank you so much for answering our questions, Tim, and we're all really appreciative of Australian paramedics and the amazing work that you guys do for us.
Absolutely.
Let's give a round of applause.
And Ruth, that marks the end of our last interview on this couch. Yeah. I know that the show is getting close to the end, but I feel like I was just getting a good groove needed into this spot.
100%. Well, the show's not over just yet, but we should start thinking of a way to celebrate.
Well, actually, Ruth, I was thinking, over the course of this show, I feel like we've become good buds, and maybe we should celebrate the end of the show by hitting the clubs.
Well, I definitely agree, but I just haven't been clubbing in a while, and I just don't know, where do we go for a good time, and what kind of clubs are out there?
Right. Well, wait a second. I have just the thing for this.
Righto.
Over here, I have my Declan's Clubbing Guide, which I'll quickly take you through. So first off, we've got the animals, aka the zoo of the nightclub scene. There is an obnoxious animal stamp at the door, or it's free when you finally get to the front of the line. It always has a weird building layout that feels slightly dodgy. This club is full of copy-pasted 20-year-old boys clad in the standard uniform of striped guest shirts, fanny packs, and sunglasses, even though it's midnight. The girls are new clubbers and seasoned and smashed regulars. The drinks are always overpriced and the smokers are always overly full.
Right, so I'm not liking the sound of that one. Next.
Okay. Next up, we have the Drag Runway, otherwise known as the Anything Goes Club. This club is fabulous for a good convo in the smokers, a fantastic dance to ABBA, Beyonce, Riri, Shakira, basically any female powerhouse. Going to this club means you will always get complimented for everything and anything, and a gorgeous drag show is always just around the corner.
That could be fun.
But wait, there's more. Our third classic club is the niche upstairs, hole in the wall. These clubs usually appeal to one type of person, such as the emo crowd or the indie rock and roll kids. But there's a pool table, but it's usually never available. Usually the niche clubs like to keep things pretty quirky with fun drink names and cheap basics. The types of people who hang out in these areas are either young, spirited 30 to 40-year-olds or old-souled 19-year-olds.
Okay, so that sounds like a great place to be at 2 a.m.
Yes, and finally, we've got the Free Club. The Free Club is usually the one that's the most popular, but the bar staff are mean. The toilets are absolutely disgusting. And there's always some shady dude with a fanny pack trying to sell you something which he promises you is Molly, but is probably not Molly. You can't dance to the music, but at least the lights are pretty.
Oh, wow. Shitty bathrooms and pretty lights, did you say? Yeah, cool. Sign me up.
Well, anyway, those are the clubs types. We better get the show wrapped up pretty soon then, because we're running out of time. And you have to promise not to leave me behind, because I don't want to end up like the guy in this next segment.
They're just pixels. Yep. 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 Sorry.
Tell him I'm sorry, but kill him!
Wait, you see how hot that chick was in there?
Yeah.
Oh, she was alright. Hey, where's Caleb?
Because you are the answer to all my prayers.
Yo, everyone! How you doing, bro?
You gotta lie.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, you guys like more? Yeah, I actually want to say I just know these guys. Yeah, alright, I'll say
Like Cinderella twins?
11 before 12. I know, he doesn't pay attention.
Long night,
Yeah.
but who wouldn't after that awkward Uber ride home?
Tell me about it. Since we're running out of time now, I'd like to quickly introduce our last guest for the series, the members of Brisbane band, Dennis.
Cool. So, that's fun. So welcome and thanks for coming on the show.
Can you tell us what your favourite part of performing around Australia was?
Definitely meeting all the people that come to your shows, and definitely like they've started to sing back the lyrics to some of our songs now.
Having people singing your songs back to you is just the most amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal.
Speaking of any new coming songs, any albums coming out for singles?
Yes, we have a single coming out at the end of this month, which we're really, really stoked for, and we are excited. Probably going to have a little launch party and everything, so yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be really fun.
absolutely. It's going to be fantastic.
Awesome. Well, for the song that you'll be playing for us tonight, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. This is the current single we have out. It's called Trapdoor, and it's the first single that was put under the independent label that I signed with in May. So really stoked with how it's been going, and
it's really groovy. You're
It
gonna, have,
is,
you're
yeah.
gonna have a good time.
yeah, it's really groovy.
Excellent. Well, just before we let you guys play us out, let's just see who we have to thank for the rest of it.
Yes, I'll go first. First off, thank you to all of our guests who came into the studio for a live chat and all the talent who have featured throughout the series. A special thank you to Sarah for assaulting the public with questions each week, and Lizzie for standing in this last week.
Let's also give a big round of applause to the crew behind the cameras and in the room full of machines that have way too many buttons. Thank you to the Griffith Film School for allowing Get It Together to be made here on South Bank, and thank you to Bruce Ruth for his sage guidance.
And finally, on behalf of Ruth and myself, we'd like to thank our last studio audience as well. And as well as anyone who has come to watch the show live over the past few weeks, and everyone that's also watched online or watched back the series. Hopefully, we have all got it a little bit more together.
Oh, I've always wanted to send off an audience like this. And now to play us out, Dennis.
I can see through the wall you're pulling down, speaking tongues. All you points I figured out your call. So if you wanna go ahead, play the game, no one's stopping you. But don't say you're always twisting, you've been breaking it since the old school.